You learn combat by doing combat. Anyone that is not frightened when they go into combat is not fully aware of what combat is all about.
Brown and his crew were returning from a bombing run over Bremen, Germany. Crippled by flak and riddled by machine gun bullets, with 3 men injured and another dead, the plane fell out of formation. It was alone and defenseless.
I saw this B-17 about a mile and a half away coming out fairly low. And I said, Christ, what's going on now? It looked like it was, to me, it looked like it was landed and unloaded some casualties or whatever. Anyway, I told the mechanic stop my motor and they went after this B-17.
Sam Blackford was the ball turret gunner on that mission. He's the first man to see Stigler's plane approaching from behind.
My guns were frozen up and I had my barrels pointed at him, and he knew they couldn't do anything because they weren't shooting. He kept closing, I couldn't shoot.
And he came up from the rear. He was then about, as I came up to him, he was almost about 2,000 feet high again. And I saw the tail gunner wasn't there because the guns were hanging down. Half the tail was missing on the left-hand side, practically no tail at all.
The plane only had one good engine left and could barely maneuver. As Stigler told Brown so many years later, it was the most severely damaged B-17 he had ever seen still flying.
There was the top was missing above the letters. And then the wing he had, there was a big hole here. I saw only splinters of this plexiglass. The gun sight was sitting in the open. The tail gunner was slumped over the guns or whatever he was slumped over. I saw a lot of blood in there.
It was a feeling of absolute helplessness. And, you know, you were totally subject to his whim.
So I went up to the right side along the fuselage. It's hard to describe if you see an airplane like so crippled. You know positively that there were badly wounded people aboard. And for me, it would have been the same as shooting at a parachute. I just couldn't shoot. I just hoped that he brought his wounded man home. I went up to the right wing, to close by. And I saw one pilot sitting in there.
I look out the right window, and there parked on my right wing is a German Bf-109. The little sucker looked like he owned me and belonged there. And I was still in a little bit of a state of shock. And so I sort of closed my eyes and shook my head as you would with a nightmare. And if I close my eyes and open them again, he'll be gone. Well, I opened them again, and he was still there.
Do you remember Charlie's face?
Yeah, I remember his face.
What did you see in that face?
Horror.
But in that moment, just 5 days before Christmas, Franz Stigler saw his enemies as fellow men. He never fired his weapons.
I waved to him, and we came out over the water. And I figured, well, the shortest way where I can get away was to fly to Sweden. Well, it was only half an hour flight for him. But no, I said, stupid guy, he made a left-hand turn towards England.
And the last thing he did, waved to us just like that. Peeled off to the right and went down.
What were you saying with the wave?
I said, I hope you make it home. That's what my wave was about.
After he landed, Franz Stigler never told what happened. He was worried about being court-martialed.
Pilot gave a salute and left. So we started trying to make a decision. I said anyone who wanted to bail out could bail out. I was going to try to make it back to England. And so the crew all chose to stay on board, and we just barely made it in England at about 250 feet. A couple of P-47s came along, got us into another air base. We landed, casualties were removed, and then we started a normal interrogation.
Charlie Brown and his crew did tell the story, but Army Air Force intelligence covered it up. In 1943, they didn't think the story of a chivalrous German pilot would help the war effort. Without official records, it took 46 years for Charles Brown and his crew to find Franz Stigler. But even after all that time, it's never too late to acknowledge what he did for them.
We flew under different flags, wore different uniforms, but the code, if you will, was there.
Finally, we decided to meet personally. That's what we did here, in this, at this hotel here. That's where I was sitting together and trying to get drunk.
Could you sort of tell us what your feelings were when you two met today?
It's almost impossible to describe. We had spent several hours on the phone, so I felt that we had something in common. First, a love of air and a love of aviation. It was like meeting a family member, a brother that you haven't seen for 40 years. That's about as close as I can come.
Franz, what were your feelings when you met again for the first time?
I was so happy as we met that I grabbed him and hugged him. What's the easy?
What do you owe Franz Stigler?
My life.
That's pretty simple.
Sure is.
The fact that he risked his life, really, in many ways, and I wrote him in the letter, I said, if you made a habit of feeling sorry for bomber crews and flag up alongside them, I am sure that you were shot down many times. But it was not only the, if you will, I use the term audacity, that he came up to us, and then recognizing the threat. If someone had seen him and reported him, it could have been a death sentence, a double. So he had the double impact of the fact that we might do something stupid, or his own government, as a consequence, might do something.
30,000 Americans died in B-17s during World War II. From Charlie Brown's plane, at least 3 men survived, and they have 25 descendants.
Kimberly Ansberger, Michael Ansberger, Michelle Warner.
Franz Stigler had never seen their pictures or heard their names.
Jessica Blackford, Zachary Blackford, Richard Papalo, Scott Pickard.
25 people who came into being and live today, all because Franz Stigler did not pull the trigger.
The oldest Blackford. No, it's the other side of fate, which we have no control about.